It's time to step into the Coming Out Lounge, a cool, safe space to be true to your sexual self. With your host, Rick Clemens. Rick has helped hundreds of people come out of the closet, and now each week he's bringing you cool insights for loving and accepting yourself, boosting your self-confidence, and living a guilt-free, purpose-filled life on the other side of the closet doors. Cuddle up with yourself and get ready for heartwarming coming out stories, ideas for living authentically, and tips for being fully self-expressed. Now here's your host, Coming Out Coach Rick.
Hey, closet dwellers and closet busters, because we know you all want to bust out of the closets of your life, whatever they are. But today we're going to be talking about those closets that you want to bust out of to be the real you. And you know what? Here's the thing. You don't have to be a genius to understand that, regardless of your sexual orientation or your gender identity, that showing up as your real self in the world can be, quite honestly, it can be fucking scary at times, because we're so afraid of being rejected or not being good enough that sometimes we'll just throw ourselves back in the corner of that closet that we're trying to come out of, and we'll start putting on all those fucking masks that we put on to pretend to be someone that we're not, just so other people will like us. But the thing is where does that really get us? It usually doesn't get us anywhere great. So I'm going to invite you to reverse the thought and think about, what would being your real self really be like? What are the real risks? What would it bring into your life to be able to step into some really powerful places being yourself? Because today we're being joined by a pretty cool pop singer whose new song, Real Me, starts to address what is it like to really be yourself. He's hitting it head on as we really, really trying to be who you are. We're going to take a musical ride with him, talk about his new albums and singles coming out and what's got him to this place where he feels like he can be the real him, even though he gets scared and he has to really work towards trusting people. And that beautiful guy that's going to join us, his name is Kenyth Mogan. He's a pop singer. And I just want to say, Kenyth, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the Coming Out Lounge. I can't wait to share you with our audience and get all of your story, or a lot of your story, so that people can see what it's like to take this journey. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You bet, man. So let's kind of jump in. And so you're like really literally in the midst of releasing a single right now, correct?
Yes, it just came out on Monday.
That's awesome. So for Monday, let's put a reference on this because we're recording this. So it came out Monday, the 6th of March? Is that when it launched? Awesome.
Monday, March 6th. Yep.
So it's just a couple of days since that launched. So how does that feel? What's going on? Give us some kind of insights of what it's like when you really hit the song and then you sit there on pins and needles going, okay, so now what does it do? How are you doing with it?
It's doing well, which is great. It's been really well received. It's being used in Del Shore's new film, Sorted Lives, which for me is a huge honor. People seem to be responding really well to it, which is great. It was just something. It was not a difficult song to write, but it went through many incarnations before you got the final product that's out now. Because I originally started it, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just kind of had this roller coaster of a life before it finally found its place in the world.
Mm-hmm. So I want everybody to hear what Kenyth just said. It was 4 years ago. There's a roller coaster. So like coming out of the closet, this music comes out of closets too, where you don't just suddenly go, okay, we do this, the song comes out and boom, we're done. There's definitely a life of its own that this music and songs take on. So what was the impetus behind this particular song for you? Was it that you knew Del Shore was going to pick it up, or was it, no, I just wanted to get this song and get it out of myself and bring it to the world?
Well, it was kind of, I didn't know about Del until much later. It was just something that I knew I wanted to tell a story. Mm-hmm. And I sat down and I'm like, okay, well, how can I make this work? What kind of story do I want to tell? So I started just kind of writing and went through several different drafts and different choruses and things to just try to kind of figure out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
So how much of the song, I'm sure you've been asked this question over and over, but I'm curious, how much of the song is really bringing forward parts of you and your own journey?
The whole song actually is very much my whole journey, which is very, very cool. I don't know. It's a very, very personal song for me. Yeah. One of the most personal that I've done, but it's also one of the most upbeat that I've done. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy of different things.
Let's talk a little bit about what was really, take us into this a little bit deeper. What was really going on for you in your personal life that now shows up in this really kind of fun pop, song that you've written?
Well, I was dating someone that was not a fit for me. And I was kind of trying to make myself into who I thought he wanted and who I should be to be with him. And it was a big mess. It was just not a relationship that either one of us should have been in.
Okay, and, so here's the subtext, everybody, for who's listening to this, because Kenyth just delivered a really valuable piece of information that I don't think even he realized he delivered. But when things don't feel right, that's a really good sign that you're not being yourself, that you're not supposed to be doing something. Just like when you're coming out, if it doesn't feel right, then you just need to make something happen, because that's your body, that's your soul, that's your internal guide saying, hello, wake up, something's not right here. And it sounds like that's exactly what's starting to go on for you, Kenyth.
Yes, very much so. And it just, it kind of ate at me until we finally were like, this is not going to work. Either we can end it and be friends, or we're just going to hate each other and it's going to be an awful mess. Mm-hmm. So we ended it, it was the right thing to do, to end it. And so I started thinking back on, past relationships, and there was one with someone that I met quite young when I was working at Disney in Florida, that he just got me and all my weird little quirks, and I got him and all his weird little quirks, and we just it was a short relationship because I ended up moving, but it was perfect in its little moment of being that. That's something that you look back on and you're like, oh, it was, such a great relationship. And we're friends still to this day. He actually just recently moved to California. Mm-hmm. And while we would not work today as a couple, at that moment in our lives, it was just perfect. And that's kind of what really came out of was, you got me, you understand, my weirdness, you get it, and you love me in spite of it. So it worked.
But I think this is something that you just brought up too that's really valuable for all of us to hear, is those moments in life when things go really, really well, and then those things happen to go away for whatever reasons, to be able to bring them forward to go, okay, that really, really worked. You really got me. You really got, you got my quirks, which is so interesting to me because part of my brand is make your quirk work. I'm sitting here, I muted myself, I was laughing to myself going, okay, this guy really gets what I do too. But I think it's so important to bring those moments forward and go, okay, that worked. And then the other relationship didn't work. Then here's the beauty. You bring those two different things together. And my guess would be that now you've got a whole lot more figured out about the kind of relationships you want to be in and the kind of person you want to be in relationship. Would that be true?
That's very much true. Yes, exactly.
And so as you come through these different moments in life and you write your songs and you start to produce and all that sort of stuff, my gut feeling would be that you must have some really interesting self-awareness that starts to show up each time you sit down to write a song.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I try to take little bits and pieces from my life and tell a little story, which I have a good friend that's a songwriter as well. And he gets annoyed because he's like, make some simple pop songs. He's like, just write about this. And I'm like, well, I don't really do that. So it's difficult for me to write about things that I don't know.
But if you were doing this, if you were just writing those things that, yes, I get it that you don't know, but it's a perfect example of putting another mask on and pretending to be someone that you're not. Okay, let's just write music and put this out there and da-da-da-da. If it's not aligned with who you are, it's probably not going to be really great. And you're probably not going to like it. You're probably not going to enjoy the process would be my gut feeling.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. Because I've tried that. I've tried to write stupid little songs that deal with nothing or, little fluffy things. And it doesn't really work for me as a person. There's nothing wrong with those songs. And I love a lot of those songs. It's just, for me, it's difficult, regardless of how much I would love to sit down and write a song about nothing. It just doesn't click for me.
So music clicked for you, though, at a really, really young age, right?
Yes.
And it even had some little birdie shared with me that there was like a favorite song that you played over and over and over and over and over again. You want to share a little bit about that with our audience?
Yeah. The very first song I ever remember getting was a little 45 of a song called I Think We're Alone Now. And it was by a girl named Tiffany. And, I think I was 3 or 4 at the time when it came out. And,
I just want to strangle you right now because you were 3 or 4. I was like 18 or 19 or something like that. So, you're playing with your Rainbow Bright, 45 spinner. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm like in college, going through this. So, okay, I'll get off.
Yeah. And that's
my little old man soapbox.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I had a little Rainbow Bright record player that I would play the song just ad nauseum, like over and over. And to the point where I was home this past summer, I had a death in the family, and I went home and I was cleaning or doing something, and I was singing the song to myself, and finally I could hear my father clear across the other end of the house. Okay, Kenny, it's been 30 fucking years. Choose a different song. She was just like, oh my God. And I laughed like, sorry.
But that story you just shared though about your dad, it says a lot about the relationship you have with him. He can really step into that place with you. Here's something interesting that I'm going to have kind of share with us. His relationship with his father was actually, it was a little bit different than most of us who come out of the closet, right?
Yes. My father, I came out I started the process, I think, when I was 13 and 14. And I officially came out to my parents at 15. Mm-hmm. And I wrote them both a letter. And I thought that I was going to get kicked out of my house, that my father was going to disown me, that there was going to be all this drama. And I had packed up my car and I was ready. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go somewhere. I'm going to leave. I'm going to run away. And my father, I ran to my grandmother's house and I was hiding there, and my dad came over and he was basically like, okay, he's like, I'm not mad that you're gay. He's like, I'm upset with the fact that you didn't think you could tell me to my face. He's like, that bothers me. And he's like, I wouldn't care. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I love you. And he's like, but it bothers me that you feel like I didn't. And so that's where he was more upset at himself for making me feel like like that would happen. Mm-hmm. And which is a complete role reversal. Usually it's the father that, like, no, you get out of my house, blah, 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 blah. And my dad wasn't. My mother and my stepfather, on the other hand, it was a different story. It took them many, 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 many years to really finally kind of start to come to terms with it and understand that it wasn't something that was going to change. And this was who I am and who I was always going to be and who I always was. And now my mother and I have a very wonderful relationship. It was rocky for a bit, but we have a great relationship now, which is good. I'm glad of that, because there's been a lot of family upheaval recently. That's just kind of a lot of drama that's gone on, and knowing that she has my back, she knows that I have her back. It's been kind of a saving grace, at least on my end, knowing that I have a mother now that I can count on. And it's really, because even I know friends today that they don't have either parents, and, both parents disown them. And, so mine don't. And mine is to the point now where she's like, well, so-and-so is gay, and you guys might make a really cute couple, which, this is great, and I'm like, I don't think that would work, Mom, but,
yeah,
the fact that she feels comfortable.
Right. You've reached a space when they start, recognizing those things, or, it's all my favorite is always, people who are like, oh, I know such and so they're gay. Do you know them? I'm like, no, I live in California. I live in New York. How the hell do you think I would actually know this gay person clear across?
Yeah.
As if there's some I guess I know there is a gay network, we have that in common, just like you heterosexuals have that in common, just because you're heterosexual doesn't mean we know each other. But I'm really curious and, however far you want to, share with our listeners, you talk about, the relationship being rocky with your mother and stepdad, because I think it's important for everybody to hear different perspectives. So what was the driving thing that was making it so rocky? Was it some religious belief? Was it just that you had disappointed her by not being able to, quote unquote, bring the, grandchildren into the world? What was kind of going on?
Well, it wasn't really a religious deal. They tried to play that with me when I first came out. That was, maybe we should ask the priest, maybe we should do this. And I asked my mother, actually was like, well, he's like, you could talk to a priest. And I'm like, Mom, turn on the news. You're going to send a gay teenager to a Catholic priest? I'm like, look, rethink that statement, honey.
Yeah.
And we're from Montana, and it's a very tiny little town that I grew up in. There's about 2,500 people in that little town.
Wow.
And so, it's very, very rural. It's very, very small, and everyone knows everyone. And I just think, my stepdad was a rancher, a cowboy, and he had to grow up very quickly in his own life. And so they really didn't know any gay people. They didn't, all they saw was, what they saw on TV. So of course no one was like, oh my God, you're going to get AIDS, you're going to die. Someone's going to rape and murder you. And, so that's what they got. And, it was difficult, I think, for them to see something a little bit different, and I kind of, defied their expectations and the expectations of my little town. You think, oh my God, gay kid in the middle of northeastern Montana, it must have been a horror show. And it wasn't. I've known I was gay since I was a little boy. What little boy listens to Tiffany on a Rainbow Bright record player? And
right.
Come on now. and most of my classmates did too, and when I started the process, like I said, about 13 or 14 years old, everyone was kind of like, well, duh.
Right.
But they had all known me since I was, just this little baby. So they knew me. They didn't know that gay kid. They knew Kenny. And so my class was very much supportive. There was a few, idiots, but I was mostly made fun of because I was kind of a nerd. And, one of the football players in my class, when, it was a big, after the whole coming out and all of that, came up to him and basically was like, if anyone gives you any shit, you come find me. And he's like, I will take care of it.
Right.
And that was my class mentality. There wasn't really, I was never really beat up. I was never threatened. I was never, like I said, I was teased for, liking Rainbow Bright at 16 years old. But, that's perfectly normal. It wasn't anything beyond harmless teasing. There was really no bullies, nothing like that, which, and even in, where I was from, I was an oddity there. Because I think after I came out, there was another, I think maybe one or two that came out after me. They didn't have it so easy. They, for whatever reason, I was very well treated, very liked, I don't know. It was very strange. It was a very strange upbringing that I know I'm very fortunate to have.
Yeah. And it is strange, but it also, I have a theory about this stuff because I do so much work in this arena that it also is how you do the coming out journey. And what I mean by that is how you present. And I don't mean if you're flamboyant or not flamboyant or, whatever it is. What I mean is if you don't make it like this big thing, then it isn't a big thing. And the more you play into it being a big thing, if it's something that really, causes issues and stuff, the more we play into it, the more it feeds the fury, kind of like what's going on in our country right now with so many different things that are feeding the fury. And so I think a lot of it, and I don't even know, so for the listeners, Kenyth and I just literally met, just in the last few minutes since we've been on the air here, but I've been listening to people, but really getting a sense of who you are as a person. And you're just I can tell you're one of those people. It's like, yeah, this is just, this is what is. Life is what is.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not going to say you don't put a lot of value in stuff, but it's kind of like, I just take life as it is and I go with it. And I think sometimes when we don't do that, then that's what gives people the open door to go, okay, this is their weak spot. So now we can come in and we can make things hard and all that sort of stuff. So for the listeners, I want you to really think about what you do, not that you're 100% responsible, but how you show up, how you allow yourself to be in this journey in front of others. There's a lot about how they're going to perceive you and what they're going to feel like, even if it's not a conscious thought, how they're going to feel like they can go be with you and what they can do and how they can bully you or not bully you and all that sort of stuff. Now, I realize there are bullies. There are people that are stupid. There are people that are uneducated. But I also think a lot of it comes from how we choose to show up and how we choose to be in the world about who we are, whether we're gay, straight, bi, whatever. So much of it is what opens the door for others to be in the world with us in certain ways. So you are just coming off a few days of the new single being out and everything. So what's the long-term game that you're really working towards? You want to be like continuing songwriter? Do you want to, I'm sure like many people, you want to, at some point, get like a really great big record deal, but I know there's some other stuff behind Kenyth other than just the music. There's a lot of giving back stuff too. So why don't you kind of walk us forward to, what are you, early 30s, late 20s at this point?
I am old enough to know better.
Okay.
And still too young to do it anyway.
Okay. So he's not going to answer that question. So great. Nice reflection there, Kenyth. So.
Well, I mentioned I was 3 when I Think We're Alone Now came out. So I'll let everyone else do the math.
There you go. But you know what I'm doing, folks. I am hopping on Google right now going, okay, I'm going to figure out how it is before I let you off the air here. But I'm curious because I love finding out what, what's driving them. What's the driving force? What's their guiding thing that they want to do? And so I'd love to hear.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to be what I didn't have when I was younger. I want to be the person that the little gay kid in Montana can look to and be like, oh, hey, he's doing it. I'm a little bit of an oddity in the gay arena as far as pop music is concerned. I'm started off a little bit older than most. I don't live at the gym. I don't really care what people think about how I dress or how I look or whatever, because if I'm having to use my body to sell my music, how I look to sell my music, I guess then my music's not that good.
Right.
And I've been lucky enough that people have not really given a crap what I look like or what I wear or anything. I was so excited because I did Unlock Your Heart. First single came out 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And big video, went viral recently and had a lot of hits, a lot of people. And I was like, oh my God, people are going to be brutal because I was alongside Ronnie Kroll, who's, as far as specimens of men go, he's a very nice one to look at naked. And
I love how you use words. You can see the Montana boy there. Well, he's a nice specimen of a man. I'd be like, he's a fucking hot piece of ass. It'd be like, there we go. Let's just go for it. But no, I love this. But I get it. So, sorry. Older guys, we love to interrupt when we hear these things. So.
Well, no, and so I was like, okay, someone is going to say something about, oh, it's, this fat troll that's getting this man. And I finally got a mean comment not very long ago. And the only thing they commented on was the fact that my hair looked red. And they're like, oh, you're a ginger. You have no soul. There's no way you would get a man that hot. And I was like, that is the most generic insult.
Mm-hmm.
I was so sad. I'm like, my very first bad comment, and it was so lame. And then I got another one a couple days later that was like, this is basic. And I went, oh no, honey. No. I might be a lot of things. Basic is not one of them. And that was it. That's the only negativity that I got on the video, which floored me.
Wow.
And I was really excited about it. But it also, I had people kind of going back, like, I put out what I put out. I don't care. And so, I live for people that try to bring me down. I'm like, go for it, honey. You take your best shot. I'm not going to cry.
Right.
I talked about, having a Rainbow Bright record player, and as lame and as silly as this sounds, the message of that little cartoon character was basically like, it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, what you look like. You're beautiful for being you. And as long as you believe that and you have faith in yourself, basically the rainbow can take you anywhere. And I've lived by that my whole life. And I have been fortunate enough that I have met the woman that played the voice of Rainbow Bright. I have met Tiffany. I have worked with them and interviewed them myself and done things with them. And, you know, me being some random kid from Montana, as weird and as lame as that might sound, for me, I got to meet my two idols growing up. And not only that, I've had their support with things. Right. And I figure that, you know, I've gotten that chance. I've gotten to do that. And because of them, I was able to feel like I didn't have to hide who I was. And when I first started, that was a question I got a lot was, well, are you going to put a girl love interest in your music video? Are you going to, you know, try to hide your sexuality? And the answer is no. I would not be being my true self if I did that. And, you know, I have a grandmother who is to me, I mean, she's my rock. She's my best friend. She, from a very early age, encouraged me to like the Rainbow Brights and the My Little Ponies and but whatever it was, because it was bright and colorful. She knew that I was drawn to it. And she's like, it's happy. She's like, it doesn't matter that, you know, it's technically for girls or whatever. She's like, it's a thing that promotes happiness and love. And she's like, it can't be that bad. And so my grandmother has kind of always been my champion. And I talked to her about it, you know, when I started getting asked that, I'm like, well, what should I do? And she's like, let me lay it down for you. If you were to do that, that would be not only a great injustice for you, but she's like, it would be a great injustice for all of us that stood up for you and protected you and for all of the people that you could help. Yep. And she's like, so why would you want to do that? Why would you want to lie? And so I was like, you're right. I don't. And I didn't. And I won't. I will be my weird, random Rainbow Bright self forever, like it or not.
Well, I think the message that you're sending so clearly here is the power and the beauty and the, I'm going to say it, lack of stress that comes with being yourself. Now, it may feel like it's stressful because you know, you're up against some people like, oh, you can't be that, or really, but do it long enough. And a voice of experience here, folks, when you pretend for 36 years to be someone that you're not, the stress and the strain on your life is incredible. And I have friends who knew me, you know, pre-gay, so to speak, and post-gay, you know, it was all gay all the way through, who now see me and they're like, I can't believe that you look younger than when I knew you clear back, you know, 16 years ago before you came out of the closet, because the stress and all that. And of course, you know, lots of beautiful beauty tricks that I use as well keep me looking very fabulous. But, you know, even as big bears, you know, we have our little secrets that we don't share with anyone. But I think I don't think we as humans sometimes realize what we do to ourselves in the moments that we pretend to be someone that we're not. How that impacts so much of us at a cellular level.
I agree. I 100% agree. And, you know, when you're being yourself, you don't have to stress. And that's going back to me, that's what it's about, just being you and loving who you are as a person. And yes, it's always great when you have that person that enjoys your weirdness. And, you know, with me, like, I'm currently single and I don't mind it. I would rather work on me and be myself, and doing what I'm doing, I'm able to put 100% towards what I want to do. I was just in the studio this last weekend. You know, I think we were in there for probably 16 hours working on new songs and, you know, developing more ideas to move this project further. And, you know, my mind is always working on what's next. And sometimes it gets me in trouble because I'm like, I already have, you know, a video plan for the next single and all this stuff. And we like just lay down like the demo vocals, like, so it's nowhere near being done. But in my mind, I'm like, I've already reached out to the guy I want to play the love interest in. And my best friend doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to make him let me use his apartment to shoot in. And as he's standing outside the door, because I'm at his apartment now, but, you know, so I have all these things in my head because it's like and the next single is going to be a little bit different than the last. Real Me is a dancey, bright pop song. And the album that I had previously, Love, was a very subdued, very acoustic kind of an album, because God love him, I had a friend of mine that basically said, you're never going to be anything but a gay club singer. He's like, you'll never be able to do any real music. Because my first album, Fall Apart, the lead track on it was Nikki, a cover of a song from the 80s. And it ended with a cover of I Like 'Em Big and Stupid by Julie Brown. So it was very, my friend just goes, ugh, because he hated that song. But it was very much a album of everything sounded the same. You could play it and you wouldn't know the difference between the songs. So when my friend said, you'll never be able to do anything more, you'll never be able to write a real song, I sat down and I wrote a song called It Was Love, which debuted on national radio and is still played on stations in Seattle and New York and Montana and all over, and for me, it's just a track with a guitar and a Cajun and
right.
I wrote it about a boyfriend of mine that I had, and my first boyfriend, and we met in high school and then we reconnected in college, and he ended up passing away. He had leukemia, and I found some old photos and some old letters that we had written to each other, and I just sat down and I wrote this song. And now, coming out of Real Me, I'm like, okay, I want to do kind of a little bit singer-songwriter, but also something that's going to make people dance, because I love being subdued and, kind of a country vibe. I am not Steve Grant. And so my roots are based in, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson and Belinda Carlisle. And so I'm going back there, and I'm working on a song right now called, I don't want to give the title away yet, but it's basically a song about the aftermath of losing someone. And so it's kind of a sad song, but it's kind of not a sad song.
Sure.
And it's kind of like when Jewel released her 0304 album, which to me is one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. It's a serious album lyrically, but musically, it's something you can get up and dance and you can move. And then when you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh shit, she's talking about war and corruption and all this stuff. And it's such a great album. And so with this new song, that's kind of what I'm going for. It's going to be something where you can move to it, but when you listen to the lyrics, it's going to kind of have a double meaning to them. Like one of them, you can take it as the person died. One of them, you could take it as, it's a breakup song. And so I'm very excited for it.
I would be too. And I love what you just modeled, that the real you is many different things. And I think sometimes we all forget the real us. There's so many facets to who we are, and to honor that we're many, many different things is really one of the blessings we have as being humans beings, is that we're not just one thing. We are many, many beautiful aspects of ourselves. I'm really excited for you, man. I'm so glad you took some time out today to share what's going on with you, share your story, and to remind us all that we're much older than you, because we were so much older when it came out, But anyway, so one of the things I would like to do as we wrap up the interviews is just, and you've given already some beautiful value gems that you've dropped. But if you could talk to anybody, and we have listeners all over the world that listen to this, but if you could talk to anybody who's struggling with, being themselves and trying to step into that space, what kind of advice would you love to leave them with as we wrap up the show here?
It might seem scary, and it is scary. It's difficult and it's dark, and sometimes you want to cry, which is fine. You can cry, but don't let that fear and sadness consume you, because once you stand up and once you do, fight whatever it is that's dragging you down, once you come out of that, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be better. You're going to be your best self. And that's worth fighting for. Like someone once said, you're the only you there is. And as corny as that sounds, it's true. And without you, there's no more unit. You're the only one that can do what you do. And so once you accept that and you use that, and you don't necessarily use it as a sadness, but it's kind of like a flame to get, for lack of a better word, a flame to burn brightly. Right. Once it does, everything is going to lighten up. and you're going to be able to find your way, and you're going to be able to be like, you know what, screw you, I'm me. And if you don't like that, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter won't mind, or however that thing is supposed to go.
You got it spot on. And I think that's really beautiful advice to truly leave our listeners with, because it's so powerful when you can just see the essence and the beauty in yourself. And we all look outside of ourselves so often, and we often forget to look into ourselves in those moments when we most need to be able to thrive and to be who we're meant to be. So again, we will have all the information about Kenyth's music and singles and where you can get them, and all that stuff will be available here. And again, Kenyth, thank you so much for sharing yourself today and being the real you. I can't thank you enough for showing up and being yourself in the way that only you can do.
Thank you for having me. This means a lot to me. Thank you very much for giving me a platform to talk.
Absolutely. And I guess that's what we'll do is we'll take this platform. We'll wrap it up for another week on the Coming Out Lounge. I'll be talking to y'all in just a couple of days on the uncloseted riffs and rants of the show. But until then, everybody take care and never stop stepping out, stepping up, and stepping into living your powerful truth. I'm Rick Clemens, that coming out guy, that guy that pushes you to make big, bold steps in your life. Take care, and we'll talk to you really, really soon. Hey, Closet Dwellers and Coming Out Lounge listeners. I wanted to ask you a question. If you could take stress out of your journey, be more content in who you are, and find ways to do some of the most difficult things that you need to do as you come through the closet doors, would you do it? I bet the answer is yes. Why do I know this? Because I have been getting requests from listeners and clients or prospective clients about finding ways to just address certain things in their coming out journey. Some people don't want to work for a long time, and I totally get that. And that's why I've designed some brand new coming out coaching one-on-one sessions. These are very focused, topic-specific sessions. For example, maybe you're looking at coming out midlife and how do you do it? Could be that you're already out, but you're not completely out and you want to talk about how do I do this and come out at work. Could be that you're having trouble even accepting yourself as a gay person. And might there be a possibility that you're really struggling with your sexuality and your religion? Depending on what you're looking for, I've designed 9 powerful, highly focused one-on-one laser coaching sessions that you can choose from. Each session goes for 90 minutes. We stay specifically focused on the topic at hand. And each of these sessions also includes a copy of my book, Frankly, My Dear, I'm Gay. So now that you've heard about this, how would you like to go check them out? Well, here's how you do this. Go to thecomingoutcoach.com. On that page, you can scroll down. You'll see stuff for the book and for some other offerings, but then you'll see one-on-one coaching sessions. Click on that button, and it will take you to a page that describes each of the 9 offerings that I have. If you happen to be listening to the podcast right now, just look over to the right-hand side of the show page, and you'll see one-on-one coaching sessions right there. Again, just click on that button and go check out these new offerings. So, what do you think? Isn't it about time that you stepped out, you stepped up, and you stepped into resolving whatever the biggest issue is in your coming out journey? I'm Rick Clemens, the Coming Out Coach, and I can't wait to work with you one-on-one.
You've just experienced the Coming Out Lounge. Go online to www.comingoutlounge.com to learn more, and tune in again next week for more stories and tips for being true to yourself.